people say I make slow cinema. I made this film in 3 days. I shot it on the 4th of July, and on the 5th of July I did the sound, and on the 6th of July I edited and mixed the film, and it was over, and then I didn't look at it until December, and I've never seen it with an audience, so I'm really excited to be with you. Even though it was made in 3 days, I think it took me 33 years to make this film, because it's about an institution that I've been teaching at for the last 33 years. And I think it's an important film now, even though it was quickly made. But we can talk about why I think it's important when we're finished. So thanks for coming. Well, it's called Maggie's Farm, which is a rather cynical song by Bob Dylan, where he's complaining about his manager taking advantage of him. And I don't think the institution I work for takes advantage of me. I think we take advantage of our students. We create a high amount of debt. Tuition now is over $52,000 a year, and that's just for the tuition itself. And you need to live, so it's quite a bit of debt. In fact, the amount of debt that's created by higher education in the U.S. Is more than the amount that is paid to people who teach at universities. So what we have is bankers making more than the people that work there. So when I made this film, I thought I want to make a portrait that focuses actually on the hard work that's done there by the people that get paid the least, that is the maintenance staff. So I do a lot of portraits of how they keep the school clean, and what happens at the loading dock. And, so in a way, I think it's maybe an important film because it addresses, or it hints at these ideas of the high cost of education in the U.S. right now, and the way workers are that do the hardest work get paid the least, which is not just in the university system, but that's the way it tends to work. I don't know if I answered your question as much as, but I like my school a lot. I get very good students. I guess the film is also about being there 33 years and seeing it become much more about corporate control and corporate ideas, and much more money at the top of the school managing it. So in a way, there's a kind of a cynicalness in this film, because I'm kind of cynical about the way an institution that was quite radical, as it grows older, becomes much more conservative.
And can you talk about the structure? You sort of start with these 8 shots, beautiful nature scenes, and then you go inside, and then you come out again.
There's 24 shots. As you said, 8 outside, 8 inside, 8 outside. They're all 3.5 minutes long, but they may seem different depending on the amount of information that's given or the sound. So I wanted, because I knew I was going to call it Maggie's Farm, I thought, well, we have this outskirts around the institution that's very much like a farm. But hardly anybody ever goes there. So I thought I'll start there, and you have the hint of the interstate highway in the beginning, and as I do those 8 shots, I get further and further away from the highway, and I like the way the highway disappears and the nature kind of comes out. And then surprisingly, it's so jarring when it goes inside. And then, the film was shot on the 4th of July, which is a national holiday for our independence. And so nobody was around. So I also like this idea of the space being the subject, the actual space of it, and what that space represents.
And we will throw to you for some questions. We do have a microphone, I believe, somewhere. Otherwise, we'll just get you to yell out. But I thought I might ask James, given, you're known for sort of these films around largely depopulated spaces, yet this is a film, this is a space you're so intimate with for 33 years. Did that affect the way you shot these spaces?
Well, I could shoot it very quickly because I knew it quite well, and once I decided to make the portrait, it was all in my head immediately. I shot 24 shots, and you see all 24 of them, so I could be rather, what is the word? Whatever that means, that you only shoot 24. Because I was so familiar with it, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. But I'm making a film that's also the opposite of what the school really feels like when students are there. It's very vibrant. But I wanted to really more address how I feel the administration is. It's kind of, maybe it's not fair to them, but if I have any problems with them.
If you have a question, if you just want to raise your hand, yes, there's one in the back and there's a microphone.
Hello, I have a question about the first scene, because the whole film doesn't seem to appear to show any art or art production, but the first scene made me think of Jack Goldstein's performance that he did in the early 80s, which was, I think, by the freeway, and it gave me a visual image that it was very strong. Was that on your mind at all when you chose this first?
I don't know that particular piece by him. I might argue that there's a lot of art in this film. I was very much influenced by William Eggleston. I had met him 2 years ago in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm doing some work in the South, so I went down there, and then a friend of mine, I was good friends with him, and he's a very well-known photographer in the U.S., and he is known for his color work and also his kind of strange angles that he uses. So after meeting him, I thought I want to make a film that's kind of a tribute to him, and that you almost see his photography in this particular film. He's an interesting person. He's a few years older than me, but he's living in a home now that all his needs are taken care of. And his son who helped him do a lot of his shooting. He'd have his camera ready and change the film. Has now arranged for him to live in this old age home in Memphis. But it's a rather unique situation he has. He's allowed to have a pint of whiskey each night. And he has a number of young women that take care of him. So when I visited him, he was waiting for the young woman to bring his pint of whiskey. And he was taking apart an oscilloscope, and he asked me if I wanted to play his grand piano that was perfectly tuned, he told me. And I told him I didn't know how to play a piano. And then the friend that knew him was helping him to learn how to shoot photographs on what are those phones called, those smartphones. So I took pictures of her teaching him how to use a phone. And then the woman came with the bottle of whiskey, and we left, and she would then help him have dinner and watch a movie with him, and then he'd go to sleep and she would leave. So it was a rather unique experience for me to learn about his life so intimately. And I thought he could maybe be a role model for me.
Hi, thank you, James. You said you shot all of the footage on the 4th of July and did all the sound on the 5th of July. Could you just talk a little bit more about the sound production? Was this all diegetic or replaced? Or
I generally shoot in sync, and for this film, I noticed that the weather was supposed to be pretty much the same for the whole week, so I thought, well, I'll just do the shooting on one day, and then I'll go and take sound the next day. And luckily, the weather was exactly the same amount of wind and everything, so I could post-sync everything. And then I also thought, well, if it changes, that can be interesting, that on a day off with the sound, and that might add some other weird feeling to the sound. And then inside, there was hardly anybody around on the 5th, so I could get just these ambient sounds, which I was very interested in. I feel that the film is more about sound than about image in a way, that these, and how they relate. So, does that answer what